Our top focus tonight, West Asia remains on edge ahead of the crucial US-Iran talks slated for later this week. A lot has been happening. The question is the region moving towards dialogue or is it drifting towards war? A US fighter jet shot down an Iranian drone in West Asian waters hours after Iranian forces attempted to detain a US-flagged tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. We're unpacking all of this for you and getting you the bigger picture. Also on the show for you tonight, the latest on the Russia-Ukraine battlefield developments and the diplomatic efforts. Where are things headed? The Arctic remains at the center of crucial developments. With Finland constructing a fleet of new vessels for the United States, we tell you more about the significance of the move. All this and more coming up. The United States is stepping up for a war with Iran, it seems, even as it prepares for fresh nuclear talks with Tehran. After weeks of the escalating rhetoric, Washington and Tehran are now set to meet later this week. But on the ground and at sea, tensions have been rising fast. The US Navy is expanding its presence in the region. Warships and fighter jets are being deployed. Missile defense production is being ramped up. All of this, even as President Trump says he prefers diplomacy over war. But then is the region moving towards dialogue or is it drifting towards war remains the question. Let's just start off with the latest developments. A US fighter jet shot down an Iranian drone in West Asian waters. The Pentagon saying the drone was approaching an American aircraft carrier and was brought down in self-defense. And this incident came just hours after Iranian forces attempted to detain a US-flagged tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil routes. American warships intervened and escorted the vessel to safety. 2 flashpoints in a single day, underlining just how fragile the situation has become now. And despite these clashes, both sides insisting that the talks are still on track. The US envoy, Steve Witkoff, is expected to meet the Iranian officials later this week. But the conditions are also clear. President Trump, remember, has warned of serious consequences if negotiations fail, even as he says he does not want war. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian says talks will happen only if they are free of threats and pressure. In other words, diplomacy is also on edge. Meanwhile, Washington is reinforcing its military footprint. The aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln entered the region along with guided missile destroyers. The Pentagon has also deployed fighter jets, air defense systems. In fact, Trump has described the deployment as an armada meant to deter Iran and protect US interests, and officials are saying the buildup is defensive. But similar deployments preceded last year's strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities during the 12-day war in June. So that, again, is significant. And which is why alarm bells have been ringing across the region. The reason for this standoff is Iran's nuclear program. The US says it is aimed at building nuclear weapons, but Iran is insisting it is for civilian research. Washington also wants Iran to curb its missile program and its support for proxy groups. Tehran rejects those demands, saying negotiations must focus only on nuclear issues. Israel, meanwhile, remains deeply skeptical. Prime Minister Netanyahu has warned that Iran cannot be trusted. Adding to the pressure is Iran's internal crisis. Months of anti-government protests were met with a deadly crackdown. Rights groups are saying thousands were killed, tens of thousands arrested. Iranian authorities, meanwhile, blame foreign interference, including the United States and Israel. These domestic tensions have further strained the ties with Washington. Earlier, Trump had warned of direct U.S. involvement in Iran over Tehran's crackdown on the protesters. With tensions continuing to escalate with Iran, America is also dramatically increasing the production of missile defense systems, specifically the THAAD interceptors. Arms maker Lockheed Martin has announced plans to boost output more than fourfold, from under 100 missiles a year to about 400. This move is basically aimed at countering the threats from not only Iran, but also China and Russia. And experts are warning even that may not be enough. You see, during last year's Iran-Israel conflict, the US forces reportedly fired around 150 THAAD interceptors in just 12 days. And that exceeded annual production. Replenishing stocks could take years. And building new factories and supply chains means full-scale production may not be reached until around 2030. The Pentagon is also expanding production of Patriot missiles and naval SM-6 interceptors. At the same time, it is developing cheaper alternatives like an anti-missile system, though it's still in early stages. The message, though, is absolutely clear at this point. Washington is preparing for the absolute worst, even as it hopes for the best, it seems. Of course, diplomacy is moving forward, but then so are the warships, the fighter jets, and the missile factories. The risk now is miscalculation. One wrong move and the entire region could be pushed into an open conflict. As the talks approach, the question still is, will dialogue prevail or will the drums of war grow louder? Switching gears for now, Russia's relentless assault on Ukraine continuing a day after launching this year's deadliest missile barrage on Kiev and other parts. Russian drones struck Zaporizhia, Odessa, eastern Ukraine. Amid the renewed assault, the Kremlin has made it clear the war would go on unless Ukraine concedes to Russian demands. Our next report getting you more.
Another day, another round of deadly strikes. Sirens blare, residences burn, and Ukrainians flee in panic as Russia rains drones and missiles on Ukrainian cities. A day after launching the deadliest missiles barrage of the year, Russian drones wreaked havoc in Zaporizhia and Odessa. Ukraine says that Russia launched yet another deadly attack on eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian authorities say that Russian forces used cluster munitions to target a market. With Russian forces on the advance, Ukraine has begun evacuating residents from the front lines in Zaporizhia. Ukrainian authorities say the villages have come under intensified attack.
If you compare it to a month ago, back then it was fairly easy to get in and out here. Buses were still running. Now a month has passed, and every day, every week, we see more destruction and greater risk of entering towns like these.
Ukraine has hit back at Russia. It launched yet another attack on Belgorod. The drone strikes plunged the Russian border city into darkness. Moscow's renewed offensive came just ahead of the second trilateral in Abu Dhabi. In a sign of things to come, the Kremlin has made it clear the war in Ukraine would continue unless Kiev gives in to Moscow's demands. The issue of territory is expected to come up crucially in the talks. Russia has demanded Ukraine to concede Donbass. It has already warned that it would seize the rest of eastern Ukraine by force if diplomacy fails. Large-scale attacks on critical energy infrastructure have pushed Ukraine on the back foot. Thousands across the country are without power and heating. Temperatures have dropped to as low as minus 20 degrees Celsius. For Ukrainians, both time and patience is fast running out.
Очевидно, що війна закінчиться перемогою.
Obviously, the war will end through negotiations, but it won't happen this month or even this year. People will continue to die, and I really don't want Ukrainians to wait for that day, because it will not come. The war will go on for centuries, on and on.
І далі.
As Russia dials up the offensive, Ukraine finds itself in a tough spot. The message from Moscow seems clear. Make concessions or brace for the worst. But will Ukraine make concessions in Abu Dhabi, or will it be a stalemate, giving Moscow a clear upper hand?
Finland, the world's leading producer of icebreaker ships, is constructing a fleet of new vessels for the United States. Now, this is a move that reflects the world's rising focus on the Arctic. But President Trump's rather controversial tactics around Greenland and the tense ties with European partners have only added uncertainty around the pact. Now, here's what you need to know. The US Coast Guard is procuring up to 11 Arctic icebreakers in a major effort to modernize its aging polar fleet, which currently has only a handful of operational vessels. 4 vessels are slated for construction in Finnish shipyards, and the remaining 7 will be built in US shipyards with Finnish technical support. The contract is valued at about $6.1 billion, and the first deliveries are expected by 2028. These Arctic security cutters, as they are called, will basically help America navigate and operate in ice-covered waters, which have become increasingly vital for strategic patrols. As the Arctic Sea lanes open and competitors like Russia and China expand their presence.
As everybody can see, the global situation is such that everybody's looking for ways of being over there. Presence in Arctic seems to be very important, and we are the fastest shipyard to build that kind of vessels.
Here's more context for you. 60% of the world's icebreakers are Finnish-made. 80% are designed by Finnish companies. Finland's expertise was born from necessity, just to put this simply. It's the only country in the world where all ports can freeze in winter.
Finland is a global leader in icebreaking, in operating and constructing and designing icebreakers, because we are the only country in the whole world where all the ports may freeze. And of course we are dependent on the foreign trade.
Officials say the deal with Finland is a big boost for US national security and strengthens cooperation with a NATO partner. Remember, the Arctic is increasingly seen as a geopolitical frontline for defense, resource access, and shipping routes. However, the broader political backdrop is also complex. President Trump's interest in Greenland has triggered serious diplomatic strain with the European allies. We've been telling you about this. Trump may have backed off overt threats of using force and has cut a deal for access to Greenland. Concerns linger in Helsinki and in Europe. Some experts argue that any renewed talk of Greenland could complicate or even imperil the military-industrial agreements, such as this icebreaker deal. Already, America's geopolitical rivals, China and Russia, have been securing their foothold in the Arctic. Things have been heating up. Russia, being an Arctic country, doing it for strategic reasons, of course. China doing it to access huge reserves of natural resources there. Many other countries are also working to enhance their icebreaker fleet.
The climate is changing, and it's actually exceptionally warm in the Arctic area right now. It is not possible to sail across the Arctic Sea without icebreakers. And many big nations have interests on the Arctic area right now, and that is why icebreakers are very interesting right now.
Now, this move to acquire advanced icebreakers is part of a broader effort by Washington to close its icebreaker gap, a disadvantage compared with Russia's already large fleet and China's growing polar investments. With Arctic sea ice retreating due to climate change, This region is fast becoming more accessible and also increasingly contested for resources and strategic influence.
20 लाख रुपए की तो सिर्फ राइफल है, हमारे पास नहीं है।
Balochistan is facing a crucial moment. The streets have become battle zones. Balochistan Liberation Army taking on the might of Pakistan's military, echoing memories of 1971 in a way. After days of fighting, Pakistan now conceded that it is fighting a losing battle. Speaking in the parliament, Pakistan's defense minister, Khwaja Asif himself, stressed that it's very difficult for the army to control the state of affairs in Balochistan, owing to its vast expanse as compared to other provinces of Pakistan. Let's just play out his statement for you.
उसकी ज्योग्राफी जो है वो कवर उस तरह नहीं हो सकती जिस तरह पंजाब या सिंध या पख्तूनख्वा की हो सकती है, उससे ये एडवांटेज लेते हैं.
And in another significant moment, he also admitted that the Baloch fighters had better weapons as compared to the Pakistan army. For instance, he claimed that the BLA had a rifle worth 2 million Pakistani rupees, something which the army did not possess. Not just that, he added that a Baloch fighter wears a fighting gear worth close to $20,000.
इनके पास जो असला है मैं आपको उसका भी बताता हूँ. 20 लाख रुपए की तो सिर्फ राइफल है, हमारे पास नहीं है वो राइफल. उसके ऊपर जो लेजर जो हीट बॉडी की हीट से डिटेक्ट होकर फायर होता है वो $4,000-5,000 का वो है. टोटल जो गियर है इनके पास जो है इट्स क्लोज टू $20,000.
Balochistan remains on the boil. The BLA struck at the heart of the province by launching simultaneous attacks in 10 parts, including Quetta, and claimed to have killed 220 security personnel. However, Pakistan is claiming otherwise. It claimed to have eliminated 145 militants while citing low fatalities at its end. While Balochistan's quest for freedom dates back to the inception of Pakistan, Islamabad has intensified its crackdown in the last few decades. The killing of Nawab Akbar, a former chief minister and governor in 2006, further fueled the uprising against the Pakistani state. Enforced disappearances of Baloch people became an international issue. Prominent activists, Mehrang Baloch, for example, remaining behind bars. While Pakistan is trying to woo Bangladesh today, the scars which its army inflicted in 1971 as part of Operation Searchlight and other repressive measures are too deep to forget. The latest operation by the Baloch, it's a moment of reckoning for Pakistan. It remains to be seen whether it will continue to harass its own people or clean up terrorism in its backyard. Also on the show for you tonight, a shocking case of 3 sisters reportedly jumping to death, bringing back into focus the issue of gaming addiction. Getting you the details in just a bit. An Indian man arrested on allegations of spying for Pakistan. Getting you the complete story in just a bit. Why is the possibility of the first human baby to be born beyond Earth being talked about? Getting you a special report shortly. All this and more coming up. A shocking case has come to light from Ghaziabad in India. 3 minor sisters died after reportedly jumping to death early on Wednesday. 3 minor girls, aged between 12 and 16. The father of the deceased girls reportedly said he heard screams and the sound of bodies hitting the ground, and when he went to check on them, he found their room locked from inside. After breaking open the door, he realized they were missing. The police are reportedly intensifying the probe into their mobile phone addiction and the influence of an online Korean game. According to the police, reportedly, the preliminary investigation suggested that the sisters were addicted to a Korean task-based game, and their parents had objected to their excessive use of mobile phones in recent days, and that the family members restricting their mobile phone usage for the past few days left the girls distressed, reportedly. Now, this case has once again put the spotlight on the issue of children's addiction to mobile phones and online gaming. It's a scary reminder of the consequences it can have. According to the Ghaziabad police, the sisters spent hours on their mobile phones and had not been going to the school for the past couple of years, 2 to 3 years, reportedly. In a similar incident, a 14-year-old boy reportedly died by suicide in Madhya Pradesh's Bhopal. It is alleged that the teen was depressed and addicted to playing a game and reportedly took this step under pressure to complete a task given in the game. The police are investigating the case. Now, while at this point, these are only initial details that have surfaced in these 2 cases, they have triggered serious concern. All of this coming at a time when intense discussions have been taking place around the world about the impact technology and consuming online content can have on children. And when it comes to gaming in itself, serious concerns have been raised time and again. According to experts, excessive online gaming has significant and serious impact on a child's mental well-being. We already know that prolonged screen exposure is not good, for example. Studies have linked gaming addiction to various issues. These include serious problems like sleep disturbances, increased stress, also poor concentration and reduced academic performance. In severe cases, children may experience depression and low self-esteem.
Including all the details, that we are not getting justice anywhere.
The voter list revision row has now escalated in West Bengal. The Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee personally appeared and argued before the Supreme Court of India, launching a direct attack on the Election Commission. The TMC leader claimed that the state is being singled out and its voters systematically erased. She challenged the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls, alleging that it is politically motivated and designed to disenfranchise voters in West Bengal ahead of the crucial assembly elections. She told the court, in fact, that nearly 58 lakh names were deleted in the first phase itself, according to her. Many, she claimed, without giving voters a chance to appeal. The bench was headed by the Chief Justice of India, where the Chief Minister threw a pointed question. I'm quoting, why was the exercise rushed into a 4-month window after a gap of 24 years? And why only West Bengal? And then came another barb. She referred to the poll body as the, quote, WhatsApp Commission, and voiced frustration over its silence. Listen to this.
That we are not getting justice anywhere. So many times I have written 6 letters to Election Commission, including all the details, but no reply, sir. I'm a bonded labor, sir. Maybe I prefer that. I'm a very less important person. I prefer that.
And following the hearing, the Supreme Court issued a notice to the Election Commission, directing it to file its response by the 10th of February. The matter will be heard again next week. And as the chaos surfaced outside the court, the WION Banerjee reaffirmed the Chief Minister's allegations in the court that micro-observers from the BJP-ruled states carried out the deletions, while local electoral staff was sidelined, allegedly. That's what was claimed. after the raging escalation, all eyes now are on Mamata Banerjee, the Election Commission and the Supreme Court, with this face-off far from over. A dramatic sell-off in cryptocurrencies is putting fresh pressure on one of Bitcoin's biggest supporters, US President Donald Trump. In less than a week, almost $500 billion wiped off cryptocurrencies as a sell-off led by Bitcoin accelerated. Since the 29th of January, total crypto market value has slumped by $467.6 billion, $467.6 billion, according to data that's emerged. And on Tuesday, Bitcoin tumbled to its lowest level since US President Donald Trump won the re-election in early November 2024 and ushered in a more crypto-friendly administration in a way. On Wednesday, after hitting a 15-month low, Bitcoin regained some ground. The cryptocurrency has plummeted about 40% since rocketing to a record in early October. This despite the fact that since Trump returned to the White House, he has promised to make America a global leader in digital assets. Crypto markets once saw a boom on optimism that Bitcoin would benefit from clearer policy and federal support. But today, Bitcoin's collapse is raising rather uncomfortable questions. Can it still be considered digital gold, for example, even under a pro-crypto Trump administration? Remember, in early 2025, Trump signed an executive order aimed at strengthening U.S. leadership in digital financial technology. He has pushed a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile and brought crypto executives to the White House to signal industry support. The administration has also assembled a presidential working group to craft a national digital asset framework and position the United States as a potential crypto capital of the world. Even Trump's vice president, for that matter, has called him a champion of crypto, marking a stark turnaround from Trump's earlier skepticism. Yet, the market's telling you a different story. Bitcoin remains far below its October record peak and has not even served as a haven during the recent market stress, even as the investors flock to gold and other safe assets. And that also undermines the narrative of Bitcoin as digital gold, a supposed hedge in times of uncertainty. And this rout also comes amid broader volatility across global markets, with investors responding to the geopolitical tensions and the macroeconomic headwinds. Bitcoin ETFs also saw choppy capital flows, with significant inflows one day, followed by large outflows the next. And the scale of the sell-offs showing that investor confidence in crypto's safe haven status remains fragile. Even under policies that were supposed to drive adoption and institutional confidence. Industry voices had once celebrated the idea that US government backing and clearer regulation, also mechanisms like a crypto reserve, would attract mainstream and institutional money. But then today's downturn is prompting fresh skepticism, with questions like, can Bitcoin maintain its value and credibility if it does not act as a hedge? Or was the rally built more on hope than fundamentals? Also, can policy enthusiasm override market reality? That is the story the markets are closely watching right now. Pakistan's nefarious attempt to use civilians for intelligence gathering again coming to the fore with the arrest of an Indian national in Rajasthan's Jaisalmer district. A 28-year-old man, a person leading a normal life in his village supposedly. He had no criminal record. However, his life changed after he started interacting with a woman named Muskan online, as she turned out to be an operative from Pakistan's intelligence agency, ISI. And as per the Rajasthan CID's intelligence unit, which arrested him from the police station area, Sankra police station area, the man passed on images and details reportedly of Army, Air Force and BSF vehicles and troop movements with his ISI handlers. He was allegedly instructed to send 4 to 5 photos every month and also forwarded sensitive information on WhatsApp groups. Investigators reportedly found payments of 70,000 Indian rupees from ISI-linked accounts. Currently in police custody, the accused was brought to Jaisalmer for verification purposes. While no incriminating material was found at his residence, he was also taken to places from where he allegedly shot photos and videos of the army convoy movements and strategic activities, reportedly. He was eventually brought back to Jaipur, where he is detained under the Official Secrets Act. While his guilt is yet to be ascertained, the police action also making it clear that Indian security forces remain on alert to foil any kind of misadventure by Pakistan. With Bangladesh going through a churn, polls around the corner, even as it grapples with internal turmoil, the interim government of Muhammad Yunus is in panic mode, as India has just concluded that trade deal with the United States, and as per the deal, tariffs on made in India goods have been slashed from 50% to 18%. India also confirmed that its sensitive sectors like dairy and agriculture will be safeguarded. Now, this carries huge implications for India's textile sector. The US, remember, accounts for over 1/4 of India's textile exports. After 50% tariffs were imposed on Indian goods, there was a 31% decrease in textile and apparel exports to the United States. As the tariff rate has now been slashed to 18%, the country has got an edge as compared to Bangladesh, which faces duties of 20%. Now, this will strengthen India's position in apparel and industrial exports to America. India's gain has direct impact on Bangladesh, as it is the world's second largest exporter of textiles. In the year 2024, for instance, Dhaka exported textiles worth more than $7 billion to the US, making it the second largest importer of Bangladesh's textiles. And with the country considering that India has a larger domestic cotton base and an integrated supply chain, Bangladesh risks losing out in the bargain. While Bangladesh had a competitive advantage over India with its products gaining preferential access to the European Union, this is not the case anymore. After signing its largest ever trade deal with the European Union, India secured elimination of duty on textiles. And rattled by this, Yunus immediately called on the EU to initiate negotiations to secure similar trade terms for Dhaka. He stressed on the need to protect its trade priorities as Bangladesh's duty-free access is expiring in a few years' time, especially if it loses its least developed country status. And as Bangladesh struggles to maintain its competitiveness, it is also battling a strike by textile mills back home, resulting in losses of almost $2 billion and reduction in 50% of production capacity. More than 50 mills have been shut down as well, leaving thousands jobless. With elections scheduled, the textile sector crisis is also turning out to be one of the main challenges for the political landscape. Spain is planning to ban social media use for children under the age of 16 and introduce new laws that could hold social media executives personally liable for hate speech and harmful content on their platforms. The announcement was made by the Prime Minister at the World Government Summit in Dubai. Sanchez said the measures are designed to basically protect children from online harm, and he called on other European countries to introduce similar restrictions.
Today, our children are exposed to a space they were never meant to navigate alone. A space of addiction, abuse, pornography, manipulation, violence. We will no longer accept that. We will protect them from the digital Wild West.
Elon Musk has hit back at the announcement. The tech billionaire and owner of X called the Spanish Prime Minister a tyrant over plans to curb social media use for children under 16. Musk wrote in that X post, I'm quoting, "Dirty Sanchez is a tyrant and traitor to the people of Spain," quote unquote. Spain joins a growing list of countries pushing for tougher social media regulation, including Britain and France, after Australia, remember, became the first in the world last year to ban social media for under 16s.
We will turn algorithmic manipulation and amplification of illegal content into a new criminal offense. Disinformation doesn't appear by itself. It is created, promoted, and spread by certain actors. We will go after them as well as after the platforms whose algorithms amplified the disinformation for profit.
And Sanchez said Spain has joined what he called a coalition of the digitally willing, a group of 6 European countries aiming to coordinate and enforce cross-border digital regulation. He said the coalition will hold its first meeting in the coming days, but did not name the other countries involved. Sanchez has said online regulation is a shared challenge that goes beyond national borders. The proposed measures, coming as the European Union's Digital Services Act, now requires social media platforms to moderate harmful content. Switching gears now, Japan is braving a severe winter emergency. According to the country's Fire and Disaster Management Agency, at least 35 people have been killed in snow-related incidents over the past 15 days itself. Unusually heavy snowfalls struck northern and central Japan, with some parts experiencing more than double their average levels. Niigata Prefecture recorded the highest number of fatalities, with 12 deaths reported there. On Tuesday, a residential building collapsed under the weight of the accumulated snow, resulting in the death of a 68-year-old man. In Aomori Prefecture, snow depths have reached 14 feet, trapping many residents in their homes and restricting movement. Officials have warned that the melting snow from rooftops poses further danger, and residents were also seen walking through trenches dug into the heavy snow as the drivers battled to keep their cars from getting trapped. In several parts, in fact, public transport has been suspended, schools ordered to remain shut. The Japanese Prime Minister convened a special cabinet meeting on Tuesday. She ordered the ministers to take all possible measures to prevent further casualties. And to tackle the crisis, the Japanese government has dispatched troops to help the local authorities clear the roads and support the affected communities.
If these people, JSDF, did not come, I was thinking several places would collapse today or tomorrow.
And according to officials, trucks and heavy machinery were being used to move the snow, but efforts have struggled to keep pace with the relentless snowfall. In Sapporo, the largest city in Japan's northern Hokkaido region, around 1,000 snowplows were used to clear the snow from 3,800 kilometers of roads on Tuesday. Are dietary preferences being used as a tool to try and game the system? If a Stanford University student is to be believed, this is happening quite regularly on campuses abroad, allegedly. A 21-year-old student of international relations and East Asia studies at Stanford, published an essay claiming that many students are falsely claiming to be practitioners of the Jain faith simply to avoid paying for compulsory meal plan at her university. As per the current policy, Stanford requires students staying on campus have to mandatorily avail a meal plan of over $7,900. Exemptions are granted reportedly only if students follow a religious diet, which the kitchens cannot reasonably provide. Now, the student reportedly lamented that honesty now feels like a disadvantage and added that such misuse of university provisions puts pressure on systems designed to help those who truly need support. The 21-year-old also alleged that university administrations are reluctant to question a student's religious beliefs owing to the fear of legal action. And this is only one side of the coin, of course. Discrimination over dietary choices seems to be a reality there abroad. This is evident from the recent case of two Indian PhD students. While they were pursuing their PhD at the University of Colorado Boulder's anthropology department, they reportedly faced hostile behavior from colleagues from merely eating palak paneer in the microwave oven. After their master's degrees were withheld, they finally were compelled to file a lawsuit against the university and won $200,000 in an out-of-court settlement. Our next story is from Nepal, where an old scam has resurfaced. 6 people from 3 mountain rescue agencies have been arrested in Nepal's fake rescue scam. Nepal's Central Investigation Bureau has arrested 2 people each from Mountain Rescue Service Private Limited, Nepal Charter Service Private Limited, and Everest Experience and Assistance Private Limited. All the accused reportedly serve as directors or senior managers at the rescue agencies, and they have been accused of committing insurance fraud amounting to almost $20 million. Between mid-2022 and the end of 2025, these 3 companies reportedly are accused of defrauding international insurance firms of almost $20 million. The firms did this by conducting 294 unnecessary or fake rescues of tourists reportedly who were climbing the Himalayas. The fake rescue scam, also dubbed the scam on the roof of the world, first came to light all the way back in 2018. Rescue agencies, mountaineering, tour guides, and even hospitals were found to be colluding to siphon millions of dollars from insurance companies, allegedly. Here's how the scam reportedly works. Tour guides encourage the tourists to call for a rescue helicopter for minor issues that could have been resolved at the spot. The rescue helicopters conduct the unnecessary rescues and then take the tourists to hospitals in Nepal. Their documents are forged and falsified reportedly to depict the rescue as necessary. And the bill is then sent to insurance companies. Nepal's police have been trying to crack down on this scam for years now.
This fake rescue crime directly damages Nepal's reputation. Because of this, many international insurance companies are stepping back from operating in Nepal. To address and reverse this situation, we are continuing our investigation and taking the case forward through legal action.
And the police say that the investigation is still ongoing and that they are planning to expand their probe. They added that new evidence suggesting that this could be an organized crime. For more on this, our correspondent Saloni Murarka getting us this report from Kathmandu.
Helicopter rescues in Nepal's Himalayas, meant to save lives, are under scrutiny for a multi-million US dollars insurance scam. Police say 3 Kathmandu-based rescue companies carried out nearly 300 fake evacuations by pushing foreign climbers into unnecessary helicopter rescue by using forged medical reports and passenger records to claim insurance money. Between 2022 and 2025, the scam was able to generate $20 million US dollars. This racket first surfaced in 2018, but fresh intelligence led to new probe and arrest of 6 individuals. Many of the security agencies' officials say that this fraud has damaged Nepal's global image, as many international tourism-related organizations has flagged the country as no-go destination. As the investigation is underway, police say that it could expose a bigger and organized racket. I'm Saloni Murarka reporting for WION from Kathmandu, Nepal.
The next giant leap, in a way, may not be a footprint, but a birth. As space tourism accelerates, scientists are confronting a rather unthinkable question. Could the first human baby be born beyond Earth? And if it happens, what kind of human would return? Our next report telling you more.
Private space stations are being planned. Space hotels are being marketed. If you have money, you can buy a ticket and go to space. The domain is no longer exclusively reserved for few spacefaring nations. Human presence beyond Earth is no longer science fiction, and with it comes biology. Experts now warn that as couples spend longer periods in orbit, pregnancy in space may move from theory to reality, but science is alarmingly unprepared. Researchers say we know very little about how male and female fertility behaves in microgravity. Hormones shift, blood flows differently. Sperm motility and egg development may be altered in ways not yet measured. Even conception itself could be affected by zero gravity, where basic biological processes behave unpredictably. The greater danger begins after conception. Then there is the danger of radiation. Without our planet's protective atmosphere, cosmic rays pelt DNA like microscopic bullets. Scientists at Cranfield University suggest the risks are catastrophic. A baby conceived and carried in the void may emerge with developmental abnormalities so profound they defy modern medicine. For now, there are no clear rules, only warnings. Humanity has always expanded first and asked questions later. Space may be no different. But when the frontier involves unborn life, the cost of ignorance could be irreversible. The first baby in space, if it comes, will not just redefine exploration. It will redefine what it means to be human on Earth and beyond it.
Florida residents are seeing a very unusual sight this week. Iguanas are falling from the trees as a rare cold snap grips the Sunshine State, as it's called. The immobilized iguanas were found lying on the grass, the pavements, even in backyards. Some appear frozen in place, while others are slowly recovering as the temperatures rise. The phenomenon is known as cold stunning. It occurs when reptiles' body temperatures drop. Iguanas, which cannot regulate their own heat and become temporarily immobilized. In Florida, this occurs when temperatures fall below 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
They're an invasive species down here in South Florida, so they're obviously not supposed to be here. They're not natural to this environment. They're competing with a lot of resources with native animals.
The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission says capturing these reptiles is legal while they are immobile. So far, more than 2,000 cold-stunned iguanas have been turned over to the authorities.
They don't die, so they'll just slow their heart rate very, very slowly. They go into a hibernation state. Once it warms back up down here in South Florida, they'll slowly warm themselves back up and become active again like nothing ever happened.
Cold stunning is not unique to iguanas. Other invasive species like pythons, Cuban tree frogs can also be affected. Native Florida reptiles are better adapted, often hiding underground during the cold snaps. For months now, a group of Buddhist monks have been walking across the United States to spread a message of peace. Their aim is to reportedly raise awareness of inner peace and mindfulness across America and the world. Let's tell you more about their journey. It started out in Fort Worth, Texas, last October. They have been undergoing that journey. They've been journeying on foot for months now, slowly making their way to Washington, D.C., where the march will culminate. Their travel has taken them through 10 states, and they are in Virginia, just at the cusp of the American capital. Their presence has drawn large crowds who support their message.
Like in our country and in our world right now, that you have to show your support for peace in every possible way you can. And so this is a great way to do so. That's why I'm here.
Well, I saw it obviously all over social media, and I thought that it brought joy to people that came and motivates you to, with everything going on in the world, to bring peace. I mean, exactly what they're walking for.
Among the people who have been inspired by the monks is Virginia's governor. The monks inspired her to issue her first proclamation. She proclaimed February 2nd, which is the day the monks crossed Richmond, as the Walk for Peace Day.
I want to say thank you to all of you for inspiring us, and to the greater Richmond and Virginia community. Thank you for sharing in this inspirational moment. Therefore, I, Abigail Spanberger, Governor, do hereby recognize February 2nd, 2026 as Walk for Peace Day.
International Olympic Committee President has said that sport must remain neutral in a divided world. It appears to be the strongest indication yet that the ban on Russia will be lifted for the 2028 Los Angeles Games.
We are a sports organization. We understand politics, and we know we don't operate in a vacuum. But our game is sport. That means keeping sport a neutral ground, a place where every athlete can compete freely, without being held back by the politics or divisions of their governments. In a world that is increasingly divided, this principle matters more than ever.
The comments did not refer to Russia directly, but she emphasized that all athletes should be allowed to compete in sport, regardless of their government's behavior. Russia, remember, has been banned from international competitions since 2022 after the invasion of Ukraine, and they will compete as neutrals in the Winter Games. But several international bodies have been mulling on Russia's return recently. This includes FIFA, whose president was at the session.
With steadfast determination, we call for the Olympic truce to be respected everywhere and for the unarmed strength of sport to silence the weapons. Sport possesses immense power in the world of global communication. The Games are a compelling instrument through which to call for peace and mutual understanding. We want to invoke peace and mutual understanding. As I say, we have to be the peace that we wish to see in the world, as was said by Martin Luther King.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gampu, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, world is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
And welcome to a brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts, and the culture developments as well. From the
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others,